All right, guys, this next guest is someone that I have wanted to interview for a long time, been putting in work in the underground scene for years and has not gotten the appreciation he deserves, from Styles of Beyond to the Demigodz. Ryu.
What up? What up? What up?
What's good, bro? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm just glad to have you here. So with my interviews, I like to start at the beginning so that people can get to know who you are, where you came from, and how you got to where you are today. So you were born in New York, but you were raised in LA since the age of 2, right?
Yes.
Which part of
Yeah, I
LA did
moved
you grow
from
up in?
pretty much all over LA, LA County. I first moved to Van Nuys, uh, which for people don't know, it's in the valley, but it's part of LA City. Um, it's kind of like New York in the sense where LA is broken up in a bunch of little neighborhoods. So I uh, I moved to Van Nuys. I lived in Canoga. I lived in Downey. I lived in Cerritos. I lived in Long Beach. I lived in Agora. I lived in San Dimas for a little bit. I just moved all over the place. But yeah, the valley is like what I call home because that's where I got my start musically. Well, Cerritos in the valley in Canoga Park. That's where I got my start doing music.
Damn, so you lived all over. Like, so you were moving like what, like every 1 or 2 years or something like that?
No, like probably every 5 years or so.
Oh, okay. But like
Yeah,
you,
like it goes like we moved into an apartment in Van Nuys, and then we end up getting a house in Downey, and then as my parents started, working and doing better, we would upgrade, and so we moved to Cerritos, and like Cerritos is kind of a hub for hip hop in itself. Anyways, that's kind of where I got my love for it. Um, that's where all the DJs come from, Redmatic and all them beat junkies. Um, they all come from Cerritos, and so yeah.
yeah. So it's interesting because then you lived like in a good mixture of like really in the city, then like somewhat in the valley at times too. So like a lot of back and forth, then, right?
Well, like I said, the Valley is actually the city. Like people don't know that, but the Valley is the city of LA. Um, so that's it's kind of more urban, like the where I am now. Like Santa Clarita, Santa Clarita's got a population of maybe like 400,000 people. So it's a big city to other people, but it's a suburb of LA, and it's
Mhm.
not very urban.
So did you grow up with any siblings?
Uh no. Well, I do have two half brothers, but I didn't grow up with them. They're a lot younger than me.
Okay. So it was just you and your parents growing up for you mainly.
Yeah, yeah. I had like an adopted brother. Name was Trevor, and he lived up the street from me. He just passed away a couple months ago. That was the closest thing to a brother I ever had. So me and him grew up together. My family took care of him, and he took care of me as I got older. When my parents got divorced, I ended up moving with Trevor to Long Beach because he's older than me. So he took care of me in high school. So
Rest in peace to him, man. I'm sorry to hear that for your loss.
yeah.
How did your parents take him in? Like what was the reasoning?
Well, he didn't have the best relationship with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to divulge his family business,
Right.
but yeah, we kind of took him in and helped him out. With school, he was very smart. He was a straight A student, and you know, we did everything to help him, and then in return, he did everything to help me when I was young and getting in trouble and all that kind of stuff.
How would you describe the household that you grew up in? Was it like traditional? You're Irish, right? Or Italian?
Yeah, Irish.
Irish.
Yeah,
Was it very traditional Irish household?
yeah. Catholic, Irish Catholic, pretty normal. Um, you know, pretty normal. Mom and dad stayed together until I was about, I don't know, like 13, 14 years old, maybe. And then things started getting a little wacky after that. I didn't really know. I felt like I had a lot of freedom because my dad wasn't there anymore. So I was kind of wilding out a little bit. And I did that for a good while.
So you took the split pretty tough.
No, because I wasn't sad that my dad wasn't there, because my dad was kind of like, I guess as a kid, like I felt like he was grumpy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say he was a bad dad. I loved him, but he was more the disciplinarian, maybe, like, or I was scared of him a little bit. So when he was gone, I felt like I had freedom to do whatever I wanted.
Got you. And what did your parents do for work?
My mom was a secretary for a bank. My dad worked at a store called the Broadway. It's like Macy's type of deal. He worked there, and then he ended up being a branch manager of a bank later on.
How would you describe yourself as a kid? Like, were you quiet, social? You were into school, sports, or just music early on?
No, I was in the I was into baseball, like really, really into baseball. Like I wanted to be a pro. That was all I cared about all day, every day, baseball. Um, and then what had happened was I ended up getting pneumonia really bad when I was young, and I was like top prospect baseball pitcher, like lights out. And I ended up getting pneumonia, and I was in the hospital for a few weeks, and I lost a ton of weight. And when I got out of the hospital, like 2 or 3 days later, was tryouts for baseball, and everybody was coming out to watch me pitch and all this and that. And I ended up doing horrible. Everybody was hitting off me. I couldn't swing the bat. And I got so depressed because I was so used to being the best that I just quit. I decided I wanted to be a skateboarder. And so, yeah, that was that. I left baseball behind.
What age are we talking at this time?
Maybe 15 years old, 16.
Okay. Because, like, you said that you got into skateboarding at that time, because I've also heard you say that you were really big on BMX as well.
I was, yeah. So, like, I started off skateboarding, but I wasn't very good at it. So then I got into BMX. All my friends were into BMX. I mean, racing. And, we had in Cerritos, we had like a bunch of dirt jumps and stuff like that. We would go do that. We had a little crew. We would just like roll over town and cause havoc on our bikes. But bikes are like a man's first car. Like I had a Robinson, which is like a Ferrari. So I still have I have 3 Robinsons right now. That's the first thing you start doing as a man. Before you get a car, you want to fix up your bike and put the right wheels on it and the color scheme and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was really into the BMX too, but more like of the aesthetics of the BMX, like the actual bike. Like racing wasn't really my thing.
So you're coming up in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Help paint the scene for us. You're a little kid, you're walking the streets. What is the environment like for you at that time that has helped shaping you into a person? What are you seeing?
Well, I used to go across the street to my man Mark's house, Mark and Dave, and he had a tool shed that we converted into like a man cave, and we had a little boombox in there. And back then in LA, we had a radio station called K-Day, 1580 AM, and we would sit in there and look at porn magazines and listen to K-Day. And then
Good times.
K-Day would say something like, Oh, Ice-T's performing at such and such place, Compton, on Sundays. So we would like try to figure out a way to get over to Compton and go watch Ice-T perform in the parking lot of like a Popeye's chicken or something. Uh, get the Compton swap meet to buy tapes. So we should go to swap meet to buy tapes. Norwalk swap meet, Compton swap meet, um, all that. Um, so yeah, there was a lot. Like I said, in Cerritos in that time, it was a big DJ culture. So like everybody wanted to be a DJ. I don't know if that was just where I lived or everywhere, but everybody wanted to be a DJ. So I wanted to be a DJ. So me and my friends built like a coffin. I had one Technique 1200 turntable that my father had bought me for my birthday because we couldn't afford two. So I got one. And the other turntable was one of those like stacked stereos that has a turntable on the top. And then I had a mixer from Radio Shack. And I used to just open my garage and people would come over and DJ and rap or dance, whatever. You know, that was basically what was going on.
But your surroundings, was it like culturally diverse, like the demographics and everything?
Yeah. Like the city of Cerritos, where I was at the time, is literally the most culturally diverse city in the United States. It's like voted that. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like, it's got the biggest population of like Asians, Indians, Hispanics, whites, blacks, you know, islanders, whatever. Everybody lived in Cerritos.
Mm-hmm. How was that like for you? How do you think that impacted you growing up around so many different kinds of cultures like that?
It was great because, you know, I learned something from everybody. So the Filipinos were all DJs and they all listened to freestyle music and they had their own mixtapes that would float around. So I got into DJing and like freestyle music, electronic music through watching the Filipinos. And then, you know, you can pick up this and that. You know, it was a weird mixed bag. Like we kind of dressed like white boy cholos, you know, but listen to freestyle music and like it, you know, like Pendleton's, Dickies, Vans,
Right.
white beaters, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it was cool though. Like everybody kind of messed with each other.